Hello, I am Richard Thompson, and I am an undergraduate at St. State, majoring in land surveying and minoring in GIS.
And I'm Victor. I'm an exchange student from Brazil. My field of study is also land surveying and cartography engineering. First, we're just going to begin with just a few highlights of our safety plan. Always wear a safety vest on job site. Being visible in the site is always a priority, especially when we're working in the hunting seasons with hunters in the adjacent properties. It's good to take some precautions. Wear appropriate clothing for terrain and weather conditions. As I said, I'm from Brazil, kind of warm weather. I came here, winter in Minnesota, it can freeze some toes and fingers sometimes. Take a first aid kit. It may seem overkill having a first aid kit, but working in a site that you can work with a lot of old farm equipment, trunks and everything, it's good to have precautions. Avoid wild animals and check oneself after leaving for bugs. Sorry. Yes, surprisingly, we didn't got that many bugs. It's good. Good day of work. Always have communication device with charged battery. Communication is key either for the working or a medical emergency. Always, it's good to be prepared. And always have at least 2 people on job site at all times. I think it's something pretty basic. No need to explain a lot about that. Research and history. This is our job site. It has 12 acres. One of the reasons we got this site, it has 3 judicial monuments. Both of us, we didn't have any knowledge of judicial monuments, and we thought it would be really interesting to get to know something more about that. Its legal description is Block 3, Block 2, Government Block 1, Section 6, Township 123 North, Range 27 West, 5th Principal Meridian of Stearns County, Minnesota.
And just a note on that, the 4th principal meridian is just across the river.
Yes, so we're also in the corner of the meridian, and it's something interesting also. As you can see here, we're adjacent to the Mississippi River over here, and our job site was on the original town site of St. Augusta that was built 1 mile to the west.
Just a little research. We had a lot of places that we got information from, but our main sources of information was Bogart Peterson Associates of Becker, Minnesota. They actually bought out the company that did the original plat that we took it from, or the Bertram Regan. Stearns County has Minnesota data GIS base sets that we could use, and we basically found our property from this. Same thing with the city of St. Cloud. We pulled a lot of information from them. And the University of Minnesota, the John R. Boucher Map Library, a little URL right there if you're interested. They have all the original town sites of Minnesota and their plan sets and plat books that you can research online, which was really helpful in finding the original town site. Just a brief history of Korman River Place. The first official record of information we found was the original town site from the John Bouchard Library, dated 1855. This town site was never built. And then our next record was from the GLO, or the Land Office from the PLSS, that came through in 1856. Minnesota then became a state in 1858, so all this was prior to Minnesota even becoming a state. 1899, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers did a survey, or hydrographic survey, of the river for navigable purposes. And they came through and we recovered some maps from our area. Our area is actually located in this area on this map. In 1925, the Billsby Engineering Corporation out of Chicago came through, and they were looking for suitable dam locations along the Mississippi River, and we might have actually found an iron from them in our plat, per what we were told by Bogart Peterson. This is an aerial photograph from when they first started doing aerial surveys in Minnesota. It's around 1938. Our project site is right below these islands. It was easy to identify on GIS data sets, our project site, because it was right below these islands, right there. In 1938, our area was sold to the Sisters of St. Benedict for $1 and good and valuable considerations. I don't know what those are, but. And in 1944, the Korman family took it over for the Sisters of St. Benedict, and they eventually bought the 156 acres that included our 12-acre parcel. In 1956, a power company held the rights to the shoreline for power purposes, for dams. And in 1973, there was the judicial rulings, which I'll go through later, on the south line of the property. And in 1987, it was surveyed by Bertram Regan Land Surveyors Incorporated. And in 2013, it was donated by John Korman to Cathedral High School for educational purposes.
Some of our surveyor methods. We're going to begin with the site conditions. The job site is heavily wooded with large openings. We found some trash and also old rusty farm equipment. Good to have a precaution with that. We also found a small storage with a fireplace nearby and gravel road leading to it. Probably some place to go, I don't know, in the winter. The property is fenced along all its borders, even having the border to the river, it was fenced. But the fence nowadays is worn out. It has a very it has a very steep drop off to the river. As you can see here, this is my partner, and it was really difficult to survey this area with the total station. Here it's the river. The access road to our job site is a dead end. The job site stays at the end of that access road. And we found a pollution control landfill is nearby our job site. This is the 1-inch steel pipe that we found, that it was told us that corresponds with what Bills by Survey put it in their possible locations for them building.
They basically use these as benchmarks for the survey along the river. So they just did a survey and they just crisscrossed across the river, setting these little 1-inch wide stakes.
Some are unique features. It is accessed by the chain gate over here. As you can see, there's the road. And its forest consists of deciduous trees, Norway pines, and cedar trees. The equipment used in our job were 2 GNSS receivers, a Trimble 8 and a Trimble 5800. We use a Nokia 500 series total station, and our data collector was a TSC3. We're going to talk a little about coordinate systems because it is different all over. You have state plane all over the United States. We also use county coordinate systems, as our friends from before talked a little about that. For state planes, they have 2 factors that make a good choice working land surveying. The first one is that it uses Cartesian coordinate systems, so it speeds up and simplifies the calculations. And it is highly accurate with errors less than 1 to 10,000 when you're working good. We use Minnesota Central State Plane Coordinate Systems. It uses Lambert conformal conic projection because its zone is in an east-west direction. About county coordinate systems, this is our county, Stearns County. It is also east-west direction, so it also uses Lambert conformal conic. The counties in Minnesota, Minnesota county coordinate systems uses Lambert conformal conic, transfer Mercator, and oblique Mercator. Ours, as I've told you, is Lambert conformal conic. State plane are based on ellipsoid, while our county coordinate systems are based on the ground, so it makes it easier and more precise and accurate to do the work. In Minnesota, the county coordinate systems are based on the NGVD 29 for their height measures, because they were projected before even NAVD 88 was created. We eventually worked with assumed coordinate systems also. It was easier for us to work with assumed in the end, because our equipment our GPS used state plane.
What we used was, for the vast majority of our GPSing at RTK, which I'll get into in a second, we used county coordinates and assumed coordinates, but we just so happened to realize that we had to translate our opus points from state plane to county coordinates. So MnDOT, or Minnesota Department of Transportation, has a feature that you can translate your state plane to county coordinates. So that's why we have the state plane in there. And the county coordinates we can directly relate to our traversing and our planar survey. So our methodology, main methods of collecting data was GPS and RTK VRS. So basically MnDOT has this system of core stations that are continuously operating, stations, and you can tie into it with a phone connection via VRS, or virtual reference system. So that's what we basically use for the vast majority of RTK. We also did radial surveys. We started out by doing a full traverse, but then we realized that we didn't need to do a full traverse. So we ended up doing closed link traverses between GPS points and closing them on the other GPS points. We also did 3 major static surveys to get us into our vertical datum. One was a 3-hour session on one of our points to set all of our vertical for our project site. And we did a GPS calibration. So there's 2 points on our project that we did our calibration to. It was the southeast judicial corner and the northwest. It was lot 2, block 2. It was the northwest corner of that lot.
So this block 2 is the adjacent property of ours in the northwest adjacent property. So it was something that as we didn't found our northwest corner, we did found the one in the block 2. It was not inside the property itself, so we could use it. We didn't go in the property itself.
But to stay true to our plat, we used that corner, because it was in our plat, but it wasn't in the property that we were surveying. So to stay true to the plat coordinate and bearings, we used that corner. And that's it. Yep. And we basically, for a whole project, we used the bearing system for Korman River Place. Some of the boundary issues. The judicial landmarks, or JLMs, based on a statute from the state of Minnesota, 559.23 and 559.25. In summary, a judicial landmark is a well-known permanent landmark defined by an iron and set by surveyors in accordance with the court ruling. And to put a JLM in a property, it should be brought to the person drawing the land or interest therein against the owner, and with the boundary lines of 2 or more tracts depend on that. These are the documents that we recovered from Bogart Peterson, and the judicial ruling basically stated that the southern line of our property was the fence line, but it should have been the the section line from the PLSS. But so what they did is they got all these witnesses to say that the south line should be the fence line, or it has been for however long the property's been. So the show the judicial landmarks were set along that bottom south line. As you can see, here's our south line, here's the section line, and this is the witness to meander corner. So here's the JLM, and here is a JLM that we recovered along that line. So this would be the southeast corner of our property with the river right here, and this is the steep bank on the river. This is pollution control. So this portion right here is pollution control, and this is a different Design Electric property. And then here is the western portion of that south line. As you can see, we did not find actually this, so this would be the computed per the judgment. So this should be where the iron or the cast iron monument for the JLM is at, but we actually did not find it. And we also didn't find the southwest property corner per the Korman Place. So if need be, we could reset this, but for this project, we did not reset it. We did actually find a iron in this location, but it was actually from the adjoining properties, Design Electric. There was another survey that came through and put in a handful, according to their plat, they put in a handful of monuments in this area. So, but we only found one of them. There's about 4 listed in this small little portion. Some more boundary issues. According to Brown's book, Control Legal Principles, it is the obligation of the surveyor to search for those corners and monuments called for by either directly or implied in the description or in the report on evidence found pertaining to them. And in our instance for the northwest corner and for our property, we did find original monumentation for our plat. We found 5 monuments that were true to the Korman River Place plat. So the northwest corner, however, it was, when we staked it out to find it, it was actually in the middle of a gravel road and fence that led to the adjoining property. So it's not our obligation to determine whose property it is, but where we staked it out and where we would place it if we would have to replace it with the monumentation that we did find, it would be in the middle of this fence. The northwest line fence diversion, along with the property corner that was not found. Here you can see the diversion that goes into our property, and this bold line right here, this is the calculated and what is shown on the Korman River Place. And here's where the property corner should be and was said to be set. And here is the gravel driveway and the gate leading into the adjoining property. The results and the future of this project.
2 minutes.
Okay. We have a full topographic survey of the site, which is now dated on the boundaries to recover the property corners that we did not found. We have the project bearings and coordinates. The judicial monuments and property corners, most of them were located, as we said already, the southwest judicial monument was not found. And one thing that we thought it would be interesting saying is what we learned with this project. Both of us didn't know anything about judicial landmarks, so it was something really interesting knowing. The equipment used, we weren't used to these equipments, so it was something interesting also. We have a lot of different brands and a lot of different sets in each equipment, so it was really interesting, everything.
It was kind of hard at one point because what you're saying about the instruments, what really came into play was at one point we forgot to zero out the instrument. So it was kind of, our points kind of ended up in the river. So continuing with radial surveys, we had to take our points and rotate, because I mean, in all radial surveys, you're true to your backside, so all those points are still good. You just got to rotate them over and over and over again to those points. So it all worked out, well, thankfully.
Yeah.
This was our resulting plat and topo. You can see it in the back.
Yeah.
Considerations for the future of the site, zoned rural residential for St. Cloud. Some special regulations, however, as part of the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act in Minnesota between St. Cloud and Minneapolis. So this is from the 2004 Mississippi Scenic River Management Plan from the Minnesota DNR. And you'll need to reestablish the southwest and northwest property corners. And it has a restrictive covenant on it right now. per being donated to Cathedral High School, so they can donate it, or so they can use it for their educational mission, but they can't just sell it.
Special thanks.
Special thanks, NSPS Chapter 5, Bogart Peterson, Geography Department, Cathedral High School. Question?
Questions from the judges?
I saw showed numerous times it was along the Mississippi River, but what other break lines did you use while you were determining your topography out there?
We used the bluff line. The bluff line was huge on the northern, or on the eastern side. It was pretty easy to shoot with the total station because it went from right here, and then there was an old barbed wire fence that kind of ran along it, and then it just drops off. And then there was on the northern side there was another ravine that was pretty hard to shoot too because all the water kind of flowed into there, and there was kind of a ravine that was difficult to shoot, but we used it as a break point also. And I forgot to mention there's a railroad that ran through here. There's an old abandoned Burlington Northern Railroad that ran through, and there is still some of the old grade and a cattle pass that is on the property that we also used as grade breaks. Yes.
I was looking at your final map, and you know, it is a topo, but I don't see a vertical datum statement of what the vertical datum it's on,
That is correct.
or tied to your benchmark that you held.
That is correct. The benchmark that we held to, the one that the stack that we did for 3 hours, it was one of our control points, CP 124, I think.
Okay.
And it was done in NADD 88, and you were right, I didn't put it on the map.
That's something we.
It was something when we looked at it, we're like, why did we put that there? So you're correct.
That's what I look for, thank you.
I had one question. You said on your traversing that you didn't run a loop, you ran between GPS points. Did you close out on GPS pairs, or did you close out on a single point as a check-in? And what were those values of the closures of those traverse runs?
Considering we had shot those traverse point, or those points, or the control points multiple times, we had an average of those 2 points between the 2 times that we shot them. So then what we took is that we took from that initial point, we traversed to there, and we closed on the average of those 2 points.
As a check-in, right?
Yes, as a
Yes.
check-in.
So there wasn't a pair at either end of those
No.
points, just a single check-in?
Just a single check-in.
Thank you.